Are you trying or planning on holding any cash for a possible general stock market um, collapse of some sort? Or are you just looking at stocks that probably won't be affected? Like, what is your point of view on that?
I'm holding a lot of cash myself. Just I kind of have a minimum threshold that I need to kind of maintain because even before I got into natural resource speculation, kind of the space, I kind of made a deal with myself, basically saying I don't like that the general equities and real estate are sitting at all time highs, and
Mm-hmm.
if something bad were to happen, I mean, it's not like I'm hoping and wishing for that, but I need to have kind of a safety net. So, it's with markets, I think they always surprise us, whether to the upside or downside. And that's just something I never lost sight of. I'm somebody who, I guess, when I have a, you know, like life changing experience type of thing, it just never leaves my mind. And right now it's like it's so crazy because you talk to anybody on the street about like the 2008 financial crisis, and almost nobody believes that it was real, or they forgot about it completely. It's just there's no remembrance of it and the lessons learned and all that kind of thing. Where it's hard for most people right now to fathom that a stock market crash could even happen. But I've always just kind of accepted that as a truth. So, with that kind of mindset, already baked in, it's just for me, I'm holding at least, six figures in cash. Um, that's kind of like my minimum threshold. Um, because as much as I believe in the whole mining thesis and gold, going up and all that, I mean, 2008, I think was just a huge wake up call for everybody, where it's basically there can be these dislocations in the market where everything goes down. Like it doesn't matter what you're investing in. If you hold any risk assets or even non risk assets, in theory, they could still go down. And like the only thing that survives is the actual like currency, the US dollar or something. So, it's just trying to cover all your bases, where you basically just assume that you know nothing about the markets and you have no inkling, no idea of where they could turn next. So it's kind of in that sense a diversification, because I just know from experience, and I think this is really important for everybody, especially like newbies, to kind of inculcate in your brain is, everybody wants to make the big gains really fast because that's always going to be sexy. But if you can get the timing right, where you can buy low or really, really low, I mean, you can make orders of magnitude, like beyond your dreams, right? I mean, I saw it firsthand. I kind of experienced it with real estate, and I'm trying to do it again with mining stocks. But you can make life changing gains just off a small amount of capital. But the most important thing, when opportunity comes knocking, is you have to have some kind of capital, because usually when the best deals arrive, it's when nobody is liquid and everybody is like forced liquidation, selling off assets or whatever, just margin calls, or because people get greedy, they over leverage at the top, and when shit hits the fan, if you will, you just want to be the opportunist. You want to be able to just scoop up all the bargains that are floating, like a plenty. It's just like it's an abundance of good deals, and you're just trying to pick them all up. So that's my mindset. I'm sticking to it. With these things, it's hard to time, right? You don't know if it's going to happen in 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, but I just need that kind of safety net to feel reassured.
Oh, that was a very reasonable answer. I think that is excellent advice, and unfortunately, I'm not taking it. So
It's easier said than done.
yeah, I mean, I'm sticking with something which is not at all proven, and I mean, listening to that, I feel like I've got some additional unnecessary risk, but it comes down to something very simple where Fabi already mentioned it. I mean, a lot of these small explorers, my main bet is that some of them are so cheap that two things. One, if they miss or if something doesn't work out quite right, they're not going to get that much cheaper. And two, they're not even going to necessarily be affected by macro factors. And I might be very wrong about that. I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there is a whole risk about having so much money even in a trading account, because who knows if your account gets frozen and you can't get your money out. I mean, people don't like to think about that, but that's kind of like almost like a meta risk. It's not the risk of the companies or even just a general macro, but it's a risk with the platform that you use to trade stocks, buy and sell stocks. So I definitely have a risk there that probably is more than it should be. But the main thing is, going back to earlier in the conversation, there is so much exploration going on right now, and I am making big bets in companies that have near-term catalysts. Like, I know that news is coming in the next month or two, in the next few months. And this was not the case like a year ago. Like, I find it really exciting. And so what I have to decide, and not be silly like I've been, like where I make some profits, I take some cash out, and instead of piling it right back into something else, like finally just holding it off. I mean, I do have a little bit of cash, but compared to Jay, it's a very small part of my portfolio, and I'll have to think more about it. But it will be interesting to see if my general thesis comes true, that these small explorers are going to be affected much at all, like whether I'm taking too much risk in that standpoint, or whether this is actually a good time to bet big on those, despite all of the scary macro things going on in the world.
Man, sitting on cash is, to me, one of the hardest things. I really, every time I have just a little tiny bit, my fingers start to itch, and I'm like, let's go shopping. It's the woman in me, guys. Come on, come on. I don't like shoes or handbags. There's got to be something I like to buy, and that just happens to be stocks. And so, like, I'm trying to more and more keep some cash, because there's always more opportunity. Yes, and I agree with both of you. I've just been trying to hold on to a little bit more cash than usual, just as a personal exercise on discipline. I kid you not, because I'm so
Good.
dying to buy more and more. But you know what? Like, I have to just take a breather and just remember, there are other investing avenues. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, so let's just, keep investing what we're planning to invest. But if like unexpected money comes into our lives, and just think about it, give yourself a few months, not a few days, just give yourself a few months to think about what you're going to do with that money. Otherwise, I would just empty my bank account every time it has any sort of smell of money in there. But yeah, it's difficult. Like, I am really I'd be really happy just buying more of everything that I own right now, or almost everything. A couple of stocks have gone up several 100%, and so those I'd leave alone for now. But the stuff that's down, like, I'm just dying to buy more, and I really don't like sitting on cash. I might just go out, this week and spend it all on stocks. But for now, I've been trying to sort of exercise that discipline, and it's tough. Like, I'm dying.
It's really tough to hold back when you have cash and you see good deals. One thing I've tried to do, just to fight the urges or impulse, and I think somebody else was telling me that they were doing that too, is when you see a really good deal and you're like, I have to have this. Like, let's say you have X amount of money in your bank account and you want to just keep that in cash. You just put a little sliver in and you make that purchase, and really what that does is it just fills that impulse, and it just makes you feel a little better. In a way, it helps you keep the discipline of maintaining cash, but at the same time, you're being active, so it just feeds that urge and that impulse. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody's different.
Junkie tips.
Yeah. Like, I think last week I placed another buy order. I got some shares of Teranga Gold, and that's one of the more popular mid tiers that people are discussing right now, because it's the whole GDXJ thing, and every day it's kind of like, wow, can this thing get any lower? It just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, and at some point I was like, I'd prefer to hold cash, and I think the worst might still be to come or something. But I'm just gonna buy a little tranche. I just buy a little bit, and surprisingly, I guess it's like, hey, I feel a lot better after doing that, but I still maintain the cash balance for the most part, like what I wanted. But I got to feed that impulse.